Hi everyone, we are at Indo Pacific 2023 in Sydney, Australia, and today I'm meeting with Rear Admiral Stephen Hughes, Head of Navy Capability Office at the Royal Australian Navy. Admiral, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me along today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you for your time to answer a few of my questions. Admiral, can you please tell our audience a little bit about your role?
So my role as the Head of Navy Capability is to look at all our future requirements across our surface fleet, undersea fleet, the submarines, not the conventionally armed nuclear power submarines, that sits in a different agency, but all our capabilities across all the major warfighting areas, whether it's mine warfare, minor war vessels, the smaller patrol vessels, up to the larger amphibious ships and the destroyers. So I set the requirements. I'm then the accountable officer for setting those programs in place, working with the delivery agents, and then making sure I'm monitoring the progress of those through. But I also focus on the fleet and being and the improvements we need for that. And really my job is to fight for the resources for us to implement the capability.
Very well. The Defence Strategic Review in Australia instructed the Royal Australian Navy to look at increasing the lethality of the fleet. Your predecessor last year told us he was looking at potentially fitting Tomahawk missiles on board the Collins class. Is this still something you're looking at today?
Yeah, so the government asked us to do a study into it to look at the feasibility, the practicality of it, how that would impact the life of type extension we're doing with the Collins as we transition to the conventionally armed nuclear power submarines. So we've engaged with our US partners who obviously own the weapons system, understand its implications in the undersea warfare perspective. So we're expecting that report to be delivered towards the end of the year, into the new year. We'll then have to obviously dissect that and work that in the context of what we're doing with the Collins class load, and then give government some advice in the new year so they can make a decision. So at the moment it's sort of pending. We're waiting for the right data and then looking at what that implications are for us, both in terms of schedule, cost and capability, noting that the conventional armed nuclear power submarines with the Virginia class are coming into service in the early 30s. So part of that will be understanding where the transition point for that comes from.
What about the surface fleet? How do you increase the lethality of surface combatants?
Well, there's a couple of ways you do that, and it's not all about strapping more missiles or buying more. It's actually what you've got in service at the moment. So there's some fundamental things we can do, our recruitment and retention of our workforce, for example. We are desperately keen to encourage young Australians across all diversity to join the Navy to help us get our current fleet to sea. A lot in the technical streams, the STEM streams like mechanics and electricians, as much as young guys and girls to drive the ships and fight the ship. So there's that element about the workforce to sustain our capability as we're going to grow in size. I think that was very clear from the Defence Strategic Review. Also uplifting the sustainment investment, i.e. making sure the supply chain is able to keep our ships at sea. To quote I think it was the Deputy Prime Minister the other day, a ship is no good to you tied up alongside. That's not lethality. So we do need to get the current fleet through and keep it sustained as the new capabilities come through. But then, of course, there's all the fun toys, the missiles and things like that. So we're looking at a wide range of capabilities. We've already announced the Tomahawk strike missile, a long-range strike missile is a capability to fit to the Hobart-class destroyers, and that's the first phase of introducing that weapon system as it goes to the Maritime Strike Tomahawk, which we're currently working with our US partners on introducing that. And of course we've got to do that at speed. There's no point waiting 10 years to do it, so we're going to move really quickly, and we've made a lot of progress in integrating it into the Hobart class. We'll also then look at the C5000 program, which is our future frigate. That requirement obviously we'll look at putting Tomahawk into that weapon. So there's going to be a long-term future of that long-range strike both in the land and the maritime capability, which will take us very much into that offensive high deterrence role. Also, we're looking at the US standard missile family. So because we're heavily based on our larger warships around the US Aegis combat system, and we're in the process of upgrading and doing the work leading into upgrading those baselines of the Aegis. We will see ourselves subject to government consideration of the independent analysis of the surface fleet review they're doing to see those more advanced weapon systems to go into both our destroyers and into the C5000 future frigate program. We're also announced the Naval Strike Missile from Kongsberg. That one we're already introducing into our Anzac class frigates and also into the destroyers. Also, we've recently been approved and we're acquiring and they're about to be delivered is the Italian sea mines, which will give us an offensive sea mining capability. So there are a whole range of capabilities that we're seeking. We're getting additional Seahawk Romeos also to add more capability to support our fleet. And another area is we've just procured and put into service Australian Defence Vessel Guidance, which is a civilian ship, but that will be the main backbone for our autonomous and undersea warfare capabilities, which both what we're doing sovereign-wise, but also under the AUKUS Pillar 2 work. And in fact, we've just had our first demonstration of a lot of that capability, which has really lifted my confidence that we're on the right track.
What about modularity? Is that something you're looking at as well?
Yeah, so I think what we have to do is start developing some flexibility and deliver what I call asymmetric effects. How can something small make a big difference in the calculus of a potential adversary? So part of that we're looking at is exploring how you can put different systems, whether autonomous systems, maybe weapon missile systems or gun systems, into a containerized piece. So you can, instead of spending a lot of money integrating the weapon system into a vessel, you can sort of shift and lift it between. And that sort of keeps everybody on their toes about, well, which capability has that vessel got or where's that capability? And I think then there's an integrated Australian Defence Force view about how can you use those weapon systems more broadly across the joint force.
Lastly, Admiral, I know you're looking at uncrewed system as well. There's a few of them on display on the show floor here. What's the right mix, in your opinion, between crewed and uncrewed system moving forward for the Royal Australian Navy?
Look, that's a fantastic question, and in fact, out on the floor, I've been really amazed at the variety of capabilities in the either optionally crewed. There's a US squadron out here at the moment with their sort of what I call optionally crewed, so they're autonomous but you have some crew on there, and then you get down to a lot of Australian small medium enterprises who are developing systems, plus obviously a big national corporate. So there's such a variety of capabilities, but where, in terms of your question around the balance, I can't see a world where you're not going to have complementary capabilities. I don't think you're going to suddenly go all autonomous and robotic systems that I think you read that or watch that on Marvel movie or something. I don't think we'll ever go there, but we need to have a complementary system where the surface combatants do their main function, where you need people sort of doing the heavy lifting using very smart technology, but then you need uncrewed systems which you can then push up threat into what I call the dirty dangerous zone, or doing things that actually are wasting humans' time. So we're looking at a lot of capabilities. We've recently had another series of the Autonomous Warrior program, which is looking at subsurface, surface and air autonomy, how we can do undersea warfare effects, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance effects, and then also actually how you could optimise them in terms of a lethal effect. So basically turn them into an explosive capability, but again with all the command and control systems. So I cannot see a world where the Navy doesn't go there, the balance of what the right mix is, but what I'm not going to do is have lots of the same. I'm going to have a dispersed capability of different variety of effects, again to keep any potential adversary on their toes, thinking through. So I'm very excited by the technology I've seen at this show. In fact, some of what I would call non-mainstream companies have some really incredible technology, and it might not be the platform, but it's the smarts, the circuit board in there or the software, and it's how we through managing innovation, we bring that together to get the best system out of there.
Very well. Admiral Hughes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, and all the best. Thank you.